been a nuclear accident in the Soviet Union, and the Soviets have admitted that it happened. The Soviet version is this. One of the atomic reactors at the Chernobyl atomic power plant in the city of Kiev was damaged, and there is speculation in Moscow that people were injured and may have died. The Soviets may have been fairly quick to acknowledge the accident because evidence in the form of mild nuclear radiation had already reached beyond the Soviet borders to Scandinavia.
Hello, all of you wonderful people out there in podcast land. Welcome to another episode of Black and White Reviews. My name is Will.
And my name is Chuck.
And it's just going to be the two of us for this series. We're going to be discussing, when did this come out? The 2019 miniseries that aired on HBO titled Chernobyl. The entire series is directed by Johan Renck. Sure? Something like that. The guy's from Sweden. I apologize if I'm mispronouncing his name. It's the only time that I'm going to say it. And obviously the series is written by Craig Mazin. I don't even want to talk. I want to let you kind of go as long as you want to, because I've been through the series a few times. I have my fair share of understanding about what the Soviet Union was like, so I'm kind of gonna step back and I'm gonna let you kind of talk to your thoughts about these first couple of episodes. The first episode obviously titled 1:23:45, which is the time of the Chernobyl explosion, and the second episode is titled Please Remain Calm. So, yeah.
All right, so before I get into it, I just want to say, you recommended this to me. We were talking about, I think, A24 at one point, and you had suggested that you're like, you should try this miniseries out. It's only five episodes, and I was like, yeah, we can do an off the cuff. So here we are. Before I give my little before we get into spoiler territory as usual, I know you want to kind of save a lot of your conversation for that, but just real quick, just what are your thoughts on this? Like, did you like it? Did you hate it? Did you like it and recommend it because it's Chernobyl and
so
you have study on it? Like,
we had this conversation when we were discussing the film Civil War, which hasn't even come out yet. Spoiler warning for that one. It's coming out soon. Don't worry. And we were talking about one of the scenes in Civil War and how impactful it was, and like the trauma and everything else that came along with that. And there was one scene in particular that we both agreed kind of like took your breath away. I forget which one it is, so I apologize. It reminded me of a scene in the first episode where they're standing on the bridge, and it's after the explosion happens and the wind is going by, and the camera does this amazing work of just showing it in slow motion. And it's one of those moments in TV that really, it sank my gut when I watched it. Because you just know the fate of all those people on that bridge. Like, every single one of those people on that bridge is like, you're talking about they're either dead or it's like Cancer City, or maybe they, survived for a little while before they started getting sick. And it's just so heart-wrenching that you had this country that was absolutely irresponsible and incompetent on every single level, and it just sank my gut. And I forget, what exactly we were talking about, but I said, hey, I like this for that reason, and I think you just kind of jumped on board from there. I fell in love with the series when I first saw it. When I first went through it, I knew a little bit about the Chernobyl disaster, but not a lot. And even going through this series, you don't get the full effect of like what that actually was. There was a lot of things that were left out of the show. But yeah, I fell in love with the show as soon as I saw it. Like, the first episode, I was hooked. Second episode, I was even more hooked, and it just continued to escalate from there. Especially like the closer you get to the end, because when the show opens up with this speech by one of the nuclear physicists who was in the country, Legazov at the time, says there was nothing sane about Chernobyl, and he's absolutely right. There's nothing sane about what this show puts out there for you to watch, and it's an amazing story, and it's probably one of my favorite miniseries if I had to pick one. Like, this is up there for me. Wow. I love this show. Yeah. So that's my thoughts.
Well, I will say, out of all the stuff that you've recommended to me personally, I think the majority of it I've always really enjoyed.
Okay.
Starting with like They Live and, kind of working, or, you know, um, working our way through different eras and different times. And when you mentioned this, I've heard of it, but I never really it went, like it came and it went, like it was a blip for me. I never really went through it. So I started watching. I was like, yeah, you know what? Kind of, we kind of want to promote Patreon a little bit. We kind of want to get some more stuff out there. So this is one of those things like, hey, let's help, do an off the cuff. It's not a full review, but
No.
like we did with Breaking Bad.
Sure.
But I started watching this and oh my gosh. The cinematography in this show is bar none.
It's spectacular.
It's amazing.
It's spectacular, yeah.
I think I texted you because of that scene on the bridge, and I was like, why? Like, and you were like, well, they didn't know then. And it's like, true, but I watched it and I'm like, they have no idea.
Of course
they
not,
have no idea what they are in for. Now, this actually spurred me on to do some research on. I knew of Chernobyl, but I never dove into, I knew what happened. The nuclear reactor had a meltdown.
Yeah.
And I've always wondered myself too, okay, nuclear reactor has a meltdown, and this city, what is it?
Pripyat.
Pripyat? What is it?
Pripyat.
Pripyat. Yeah, I can't even pronounce it properly.
Yes.
This area is shut down for minimum 100 years, but they're saying closer to 20,000 in some time.
Yeah.
In some, it's insane.
Yeah.
But then you look at when they dropped the bomb on Hiroshima and stuff like that, and they can use it the next year, and they actually go into the science behind why one is possible and one is not.
Mm-hmm.
And I like that they actually brought in a lot of scientific fact and reality into, it's not just it's not like Titanic and there's this love story and in the background the boat is sinking, but you're focused on, Jack and Rose.
Yeah.
The focus of this is on nuclear reactor 4 and how it melted down.
Yes.
And the fact I knew it was nuclear reactor 4, I never knew that. This is actually giving you historical reference.
Yes.
But they're doing it in a way, there's even a scene in episode 2 where they actually bring in an actual news footage into the show.
Yes.
And you can tell it's actual because it's shot in 4:3 versus widescreen high def.
You can absolutely go look all that up. One of the most famous pieces of footage out of the entire ordeal is the helicopter that flew over and to dump the sand in the Buron. You can go and you can watch that right now on YouTube. They have actual footage of the helicopter collapsing because
they did it wrong the first time.
Yes, exactly. But it's just it's wild.
Right.
The whole story is wild to me.
The whole story is. I'm sitting there. You told me in the beginning, they were idiots in what they did. They were not smart through this process. And I'm watching it, and the higher up bureaucrats are getting people telling them this is what's happening. I saw it with my eyes, and nope, that's not what's happening.
No.
Go do this instead.
The one thing that you
why?
Well, there's an answer for that. The one thing that you have to understand about the way that the Soviet Union worked is you weren't exactly promoted because of your education or even your expertise. You were more than likely promoted because you were loyal. How loyal is this person to the Union? Oh, we are going to promote this person further and further up the totem pole. And you get that when one of the nuclear physicists, she goes to see somebody who's in charge of nuclear energy in the area, and it's you were working in a shoe factory before you got this desk. And it's yeah, now I'm in charge. What of it?
Right.
Are you kidding me? Are you serious? This guy who worked in a shoe factory is calling shots. I don't care what level you are. You are qualified to sweep the floor at a nuclear power plant,
shoes.
if that. But you sold shoes or you made shoes in a factory or whatever, and now you're sitting behind a desk calling shots. Are you kidding me? Like, but that's just what it was, and it's yeah.
I did. So I went on, did some research, and the fallout was extensive, and over 150,000 people were evacuated, which I thought was, I think it was like 50,000 from one location, almost 70,000 from another. So I mean, you got a lot of people.
It's a big number.
Yeah, only upwards of 50 to 100 people actually died from this, which I thought. Now there's hundreds and thousands of people who got cancer because of this. But direct deaths to this, they're saying anywhere from 50 to 100. Numbers that I've
directly from this accident. I think I believe that number. There's a lot of things that went on with the Soviet Union that I'm like, I don't know if I believe the information that you're putting out there, because it doesn't add up. So 50 to 100 people died, but hundreds of thousands of people got cancer, and it's like, that doesn't really map. That's not how math works in my mind. It sounds like there should be a lot more.
And how much did they cover? How much did they cover up?
Exactly. How much of it did they cover up?
Right.
Because in the first episode, not the first episode, but in the second episode, Please Remain Calm, you find out that it's more than a day and a half before the rest of the world knows what happened, which is still like...
It's quick.
It's quick, but it's like the Union did not want that information getting out there, which is still like you get in the first episode that blows my mind. They have their meeting, and it's like, sail off the city, cut the phone lines, nobody leaves, contain the spread of misinformation. And it's like, are you kidding me? Really? This is what you're doing? This is what's going on?
Why?
Yeah. So, but anyways, I mean, did you like it?
I've so far, 2 out of 5. I'm 40% through. I am thoroughly enjoying this show so far.
Wow.
I really, really like it. I like the writing.
Okay.
I like the cast. I think the cast. You got Stellan Skarsgård who's in this. Who
he's fantastic.
He's fantastic.
Fantastic.
Him in this, like, he's been in obviously Marvel's.
Yes.
And the Avengers. He was he played in an Exorcist movie as as a Catholic father, priest.
Oh, did he really?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Exorcist: The Beginning or something like that. Let me see here. So Stellan Skarsgård is one of those guys where you're like, he's never the main,
right?
But he deserves a lot more credit than he gets, in my opinion.
Okay.
I think that he is phenomenal. I think he's a phenomenal actor. Let me see.
Oh,
here.
Wow! I always forget that he was the professor in Good Will Hunting.
Yep.
Yeah. Wow. Okay. All right.
He's been in a ton.
He's
Angels
been in
and
a
Demons.
lot, yeah.
Oh yeah. Pirates of the Caribbean. He was Bootstrap Bill. He was.
He was
Bill Turner's father. Will Turner's father. Exorcist: The Beginning. Yep. In 2004. So he was Father Marin, which was more of like Indiana Jones type Exorcist movie if you watch it. Like, he had to go treasure hunting. It was weird.
Okay.
But he is, he played in so much stuff, and he's one of those guys where you're like, I've seen him in something, and then you're like, oh yeah, he was in this, and then you're like, oh yeah, he was in that, and then he was in that. Like, he's in Andor. Like, you forget that he's in Andor.
Yeah.
Yeah. He's in a lot of stuff. But Stellan Skarsgård is phenomenal. Jared Harris, who plays in a ton of stuff, I enjoy him. Emily Watson is actually really doing a good job. I'm impressed by the role that she took on for this.
Yeah, she was the one part of like the main cast when I first heard about the show. I was like, Emily Watt, okay, that's kind of a weird thing to be playing, alongside Stellan Skarsgård and, Gerard Harris. I was like, but whatever. And as soon as like she comes on screen and she like gets going and everything, I completely bought her character.
she fit character so well.
Absolutely. It's really well done. The way that she was casted. All of the casting choices, at least for the three mains at least, they all fit their characters perfectly. It's fantastic. Perfect. It's absolutely fantastic. Especially Stellan Skarsgård. Like, I completely buy him as, well, the bureaucrat guy who, like, I completely buy it 100%. I completely buy it. He's so good at it.
And you can see on his face too the struggle that he goes through. Like, I'm loyal, but yet all this is happening.
Yeah.
I can't deny this. How do I, and you see it in his facial expressions and everything. But I want to get more into depth. So
sure, let's do it.
Let's go into full spoiler territory. So with that being said, if you want to find the rest of this conversation, find us on patreon.com/blackandwhitereviews. And you can follow Will and I through the entire breakdown of everything. Also find us on YouTube and Instagram at Black and White Reviews 1866, and also Facebook at Black and White Reviews. Just a little Patreon plug here. We will be doing some other stuff. We're Will and I going through a breakdown of A24, the up and coming production company. Will be a Patreon exclusive. So look for us, find us on patreon.com. Memberships start as little as $3 a month.
$3.
And there's three or four different tiers, and you get a lot of goodies that come with that, along with extra content. So find us there, and we'll see you there. So spoiler territory. Here we are. Man, like you said, this show opens up 2 years after the event.
Mm-hmm.
I take that back.